Hello folks, welcome back to the Rupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. So today again we are continuing with the winding up, right? And for this chapter specifically we are referring to the provisions of the Companies Act 1956, right? So in the previous lectures we have already covered the types of liquidator and also the duties of the liquidator, right? So if you want to refer to those topics, please go back to the previous lecture and see them over there. So today there was a little part of the duties of liquidator that was pending, and we'll be covering those two specific duties and also a question that has been asked in your previous examination. Right? With that, we'll complete the entire duty of the liquidator. So if you have not seen the previous lecture, you need to go back to it, because out of the 8 duties of liquidator that we have specified, right, we have already covered the 6 duties in the previous lecture, and in this lecture we will be completing with the last 2 pending duties only, right? So to start with, the duties of the liquidator. In the previous lecture we have already seen the 6 duties, that is the conduct of the proceeding of winding up, that is the duty of the liquidator. He is not supposed to make any secret profit, and he needs to submit a preliminary report to the court that will contain the capitals, the asset, the liability, the causes of the failure, and the further inquiry if needed relating to the promotion and the formation of the company, right? I'm not going into the detail to explain anything, because all of these topics have been covered in the previous lecture. Then we have that he is supposed to issue the further report, but that is not a mandate for him. That is an option. If he thinks that okay, there is something related to the formation of the company, he may issue a further report, right? Then he should take the custody of the company's asset and property. The assets and property will not vest in the name of the liquidator, but he will only be the custodian, because the court is taking the custody of the properties of the company, so that it is able to dispose them off for a consideration, right? Then we had the books of accounts and the other records that are to be maintained by the liquidator, and this is where we ended the previous day's lecture, right? So today we have 2 last duties to cover. One of it is the presentation of the account that it prepares for the liquidation, for the procedure or the proceeding of the liquidation, and at last the duty to submit the information as to the pending liquidation. If it is pending for more than a year, they have a duty to submit some of the details, right, so that the people are aware, the people who are interested in winding up, like the contributories, the creditors, the registrar, all of them, they are aware of the proceedings that are going on, right? And based on these 2 topics, we'll also be covering a question in the class today. So let us look at each one of them individually in a separate slide. So first we have the presentation of accounts of the proceedings of the winding up. So basically the first thing that we need to understand is, what are the accounts that we're talking about? Are we talking about the financial statements? No. We are talking about the statement, right? The accounts of the liquidator. When the liquidator is disposing of an asset, he'll have to record that okay, this asset is gone out, the asset is credited, right, and certain amount that has been realized in respect of that particular asset has been debited, right? So this is the kind of account it will prepare, that okay, this liability out of this list of liabilities have been settled, right? These are the contributories, they have already bought in the call money and the other relevant amount, right? These are the creditors who have been satisfied, right? So the entire thing, the entire proceeding of the winding up needs to be prepared in an account form, right? And if you ask me the form and content of the account, then the form is the prescribed form, which may be changed or updated from time to time. So you don't have any specific format for this. All the format that will be prescribed at that particular time when you're preparing it will have to be followed, right? And you'll prepare this account in duplicate. One will be kept by yourself and one would be given out ahead, right? And we'll see who are the parties to whom you send out your statement, right? And you'll also verify your statement via a declaration, which will also be prescribed. So whenever you are supposed to make the declaration, please look at what is prescribed at that point of time. Okay? So to start with this duty, what we see is that they have a responsibility of submitting this account to the court. So every liquidator, right, by the time the liquidation is under process, when the procedures of liquidation is still continuing, they will have to submit the details of all the receipts and all the payment that has been done throughout the year at least twice in a year. That is for the internal control, that okay, the code should have a track of what you're doing, of the acts that you're performing, and this track will also be referred or inspected by others like the creditors, the contributors, the registrar, as and when they deem fit, right? So at least twice a year you will have to report that okay, this is the total amount that I have received from these sources by disposing these assets, either from the contributory or by sale of assets or by any other mean, if there was any debt due to the company that is realized. So you'll have to prepare a list of all the receipts that you had, and then you will also alongside prepare a receipt list of all the payments that you have made for the liabilities, for the debts that the company owed to somebody, to the creditors, or however and whomsoever you have settled, right? And then you'll have to show the balancing figure along with it, that okay, this is the amount I received, this is the amount I've already spended, and this is the balancing figure, and as a percentage these many liabilities have been already covered, and this is the proportion that is pending, and we are like uh, expecting further inflow of these receipts from these sources, and accordingly we will be able to either pay off the liabilities, or you will indicate that we are scared that we will not be able to pay off the liabilities in full. Correct? So when they submit this documents to the court, this account, the account of all the receipts and all the payment, the court may at any point of time, if suspected, or for this just cross verification, right, just for the control purpose, may also call for the vouchers, may call for the information. Please give me the background detail, I want to know who bought this asset, what has happened, right? If you have settled something, please get me the voucher that okay, this amount has been paid. The court needs evidences, right? Without the evidence, the court would never expect it, right? Never accept it, right? So the court may require the production of the books of account as well, that the liquidator is preparing. Please give me the entire books of accounts that you are preparing. Now, when the statement of accounts have been prepared by the liquidator, the court may also want that account to be audited, because once it has been audited, it has a cross verification, right? Because over here, if you see, the sole and whole power of the entire winding up proceeding rests with the liquidator. So although we know that it is the duty of the liquidator not to make any profit, not to make any gain, right? It is the duty to the entire conduct of the winding up proceedings. But you will always have to keep a check, because you never know. Giving out immense amount of power to somebody at point of time may also lead to the misuse of that power. So if the liquidator has been given the entire power, okay, sell off all the assets, pay off all the liabilities, keep all the accounts, send it to me, keep the vouchers and everything, there is a lot much of probability for the liquidator to indulge into undue profits, to make secret profits, and that will be untraceable, right? Because no director, no management, nobody has a role to play. It is all the power and the discretion of the liquidator, right? So for that purpose, for the cross check and for the verification, and for the others to have their confidence on this accounts, the accounts would be audited, right? And once it has been audited and the statements have been performed, the statements have been prepared, it has been finalized, it has been audited, and the auditors are also given its conclusion, then it will be prepared in a duplicate copy, and one will be sent to the court and the other to the registrar. Even the registrar is very keen to know about the procedure or the progress of the liquidation, because once it is done, it has to intimate to the other authorities and strike off the name of the company as well, right? So the registrar is very interested in the entire proceeding, and hence will also demand the auditor's report for that, right? So we have seen that, yeah, they prepare 2 copies and both of them are sent either to the court or to the registrar. Now nothing is left. Now if any creditor or any company, or is the creditor the company itself or the contributory, they want to inspect that report of the auditor, right, for their satisfaction, because there is a major creditor who account for the total of 20% of the total liability of the company, right? So he is a major creditor, he is at risk that if the liquidator is not able to conduct the winding up in a very appropriate and efficient manner, maybe that creditor will not be repaid the entire sum, right? So in that case, the creditors are very keen, they're very interested, and they get into the matter to look. Now if they want to look at it, you have no copies available. So that is why we have a provision that these copies will be available, these will be open for the inspection at the with the registrar and at the court, right? So any contributory, any creditor, or any person from the company or any other person who are interested into it, right? They can go and they can inspect the copies of these accounts and the audited accounts, right? Then if we conclude that yeah, the winding up proceedings are going on very well, and there is a probability as per the liquidator and also as per the auditor that yes, the company will be able to realize all the assets, will be able to dispose of all the assets and realize or pay off all the liabilities of the company. So if the account and your auditor's report, right, they give out this opinion, right, if they predict something like this, then the copy of those accounts in the audited financials will also be sent to each and every creditor and the contributory, right? But in case if they feel that no, they don't have surplus fund to meet all their liabilities, then these unnecessary expenditures will also be avoided, right? And also they would not like to they would not want to send such an ugly looking accounts and the audited accounts whereby you're not able to pay off all your liability and everything is going haphazard trying to arrange money from all sources. Then that would actually bring out the concern in the minds of the creditors. Oh my god, I don't think I'll be able to recover all my money, so I'm going on a toss. My business is going for a toss, I'm going under a loss, right? So that is something that would concern them. So unless and until things are good, you will not display it to them, right? So this is the provision that is generally accepted in the entire economic scenario, that yeah, you send it to the creditors, you send it to the contributors, you have already filed it with the court and the registrar. But now if you are liquidating a government company, like where the government has a stake, right, then the liquidator shall also find the account to the respective government. When I talk about respective government, it is the central government if the central government is a member of the government company, or the state government if the state government is a member of the government company, or the central and any state government if both the governments are the member of any government company, right? So that is the entire conclusion. That if something goes like that, then you will also have to send an additional copy of that account to the government, to the respective government, right? With that, so that is all about the presentation of the accounts of the proceeding of the winding up, and this was covered under section 462, right? Then we move on to the extremely last duty of the liquidator, which is the duty to submit information as to liquidation not concluded in a year. So basically, if there is a situation, if there is a scenario that the liquidation is going on for years and years and years and years, like it's been 1 year, then 2 years, then 3 years, and then 4 years, and people are not able to understand what is going on, right? So what happens is that the liquidator has to submit an information. If the liquidation procedure exceeds 1 year, he'll have to submit an information that okay, these are the issues, this is why we are not able to liquidate. These are the assets which are not being able to be realized, right? The realizable value or the realizable probability in the market is very low, or whatever be the case, that the company is under huge debt and we are not able to pay it off, right? So that can be a scenario. So we'll study about the duty to submit the information as to the liquidation not concluded in a year. So what happens basically is that the liquidator will now give them a statement, right? Roll out an information in the market that listen, this is the progress of the liquidation of the winding up. The reason behind it going very slow was these complexities that we encountered during the winding up proceedings that we are following, and this is the prediction that okay, within the next 6 months or 1 year or 2 year, whatever it is as per the case specification, you'll say that okay, the winding up will be ending over there, and hence at the end the creditors and the creditors and the people who were liable from the company's point of view, right, the company was liable for them, they will be paid and settled, right? So in totality, if you look at it, right, then what basically is happening is that if the liquidator is not concluding the liquidation within a period of say 1 year, then he will have to file a statement with respect to the proceedings conducted and the position of the liquidation, right? The probability of the specific time period within which the liquidation will be conducted, because basis on this a lot of decisions of the contributories and the creditors are pending, right? So they need to be informed year after year that okay, this is the position now, this is the position now, this is what has changed, this is what has come up, this is the probability, this is the extension that we need, right? So that they can be updated, right? We'll have a question based on this topic at the end of the lecture today, so that is one place where everything will be clear to you. right? So if there is anything you're not able to understand, or you are able to skip it, right, then don't worry, you are allowed to skip that point as of now, because at the end when we discuss the question based on this topic, the entire scenario will be clear to you, right? For the time being, just bear with me and try and understand the provision that I am dictating. So basically, if you try and understand, then audit of the statement is the first duty, first part of the duty. That means once the statement is prepared about the position of the liquidation and about the statement of the liquidation, the entire statement of the year, the receipt and payment and everything, you need to get that audited, right? Why? Because that will give us an assurance that okay, whatever they're doing or whatever proceedings they are following are appropriate and legal and as per the law proceeding, and that it is accurate, or at least close to accuracy, that yeah, we are able to predict, or we are able to at least communicate the exact scenario to the users, right? And this has to be done within 2 months of the end of the financial year. That is the time limit given for you to get it audited and post it, right? So now you need to understand where to submit this report, the report of the auditor or the statement. Where do you submit it? So consider two examples, two cases. When does the court award or order liquidation? One is when it has a petition filed from the contributory or from the creditor or the company or anybody, then the court gives out an order for liquidation. And the second portion that is different from all these 6 grounds of liquidation and stuff is that the shareholders can also voluntarily wound up the company. If they pass a special resolution that yes, we need the winding up of the company because of any reason, it just requires special resolution, then the company can be wound up, right? And in that case, you will have to send the statement, you will have to submit the statement with the court and with the registrar. But if it is the voluntary case, the case of voluntary wind up by the members, there is no court's interference, hence you do not need to submit the statement to the court, because the court will not understand anything. You did not take the case to the court, right? If you directly just file the statement that okay, this is the proceeding, the court will not be able to connect as to what is happening, what is this for, right? So all you need to do is submit it only to the registrar, because registrar is keeping a track of everything since the very beginning. And again, the same provision that since you are submitting it to the court and the registrar, how does the creditor or the contributory or the company come to know about the proceeding? Where do they read it, right? So for that specific purpose, to facilitate their input, to facilitate their updation on the basis of the statement and the audited report, right, these statements that has been filed with the registrar and court, they will be kept open for inspection by the members, right? And then you will have the same procedure, same applicability for the government company, that if there is a government company, then you will also have to send the copy of this account. When you are sending it to everybody for inspection purpose, you'll have to send it to the government as well, to the respective government, right? And who is the respective government? The government that is a member to that company. If it is a state government that is a member to that government company, then the state government. If it is a central government that is a member to that company, then to the central government. And if the central government and any one of the state government is a member, then to both of them, right? You've also seen this in the previous section, in the previous duty. So, and the last part is the notice to be served for default. Now this is one important thing you need to understand. So basically you have seen that the registrar is supposed to send out or to roll out this statement within 2 months from the end of the year, right? That is the time limit within which he will have to roll out the statement. Now what if the liquidator fails? The liquidator is not able to roll out the statement within the period of 2 months after the conclusion of the year, right? So the creditors, the contributory, the registrars, they did not know, they did not come to know about anything, and they are skeptical, right? They're not sure as to what is happening. So what do? Right? So at this point of time, the registrar or any contributory or the creditor of the company, whosoever it is, they may serve a notice to him to make good the default. If you have defaulted it, you haven't done it within 2 months, please, this is the notice to make good the default. You have made a mistake, rectify it, right? That means the liquidator will be given a further period of 14 days, right, to fulfill the conditions. And if the liquidator fails to make good the default even in this period of 14 days, then they have no other option than to knock the court. They will go to the court with an application, and then the court will also go about with the same procedure, right? The court may also make an order directing the liquidator to make good the default. And in this case, there is no limit of 14 days. It is on the discretion of the court, and as the court deems fit, right? They will specify such time that within this time, please bring out the statement we need to check, right? And in this case, they will also ask the liquidator to bear all the cost of all this application and the procedure that is going on, because if you would have submitted it on time, we could have avoided it. Even then, if you would have submitted it within the next 14 days, we could have avoided it. But due to your negligence or your laziness or lethargy or whatever it is, or if you are inefficiency, if you're not able to sort out the matter, then we are not supposed to bear the expenses, right? So even the liquidator is required to bear the expenses of the same as well. So overall, what is the duty in the case if the liquidation is not concluded within a year? The liquidator will have to roll out a statement, will have to file a statement with respect to the proceeding which has been conducted, and he'll give it to the court, and that will be done within the period of next 2 months from the end of the year, right? And if the winding up is conducted under the supervision of the court, then to the court and registrar, otherwise only to the registrar, and they'll be open for inspection to everybody, right? And for the government company, it will also be sent to the respective government. And if they are not able to file the statement, right, they'll receive a notice from the registrar, contributory or creditor that boss, you did not submit the statement, please take some more period and make good the loss. So 14 days has been extended. Even if that liquidator did not submit the the required statement within the period of next 14 days, then the case goes out in the hands of the court. The registrar, company or creditor, they'll make an application to the court, and again the court will do the same thing. The court will ask them to make good the default within the specified period and just to bear the cost and consequences of the application and nothing else, right? So I hope the two last duties that were a continuation of the previous lecture has been cleared with you and you understand them very well, right? There are very common points. Just try and understand that it is the responsibility to let the people be aware of what is going on. That is the simple motive behind it. Let them be aware of what is going on. It is their asset, their liabilities. Let them be aware, right? So now the last part that we have to undertake is the question. So I'll refer to the question that has been asked in your examination in CA Final May 2001, right? So on the screen you will have the gist of the question, just the crux, but I'll read out the entire question for you, and all the important points are given to you on the screen, right? The question is, the High Court at Mumbai appointed the official liquidator as the liquidator of Imprudent Energy Engineering Company Limited, right? Some of the creditors have brought to the notice of the liquidator that though the company is in liquidation for the past several years, nothing worthwhile has been done to speed up the winding up, and no documents have been filed to indicate the progress of the liquidation. Examine in this connection the nature and the periodicity of the return required to be filed by the liquidator in terms of the provisions contained in Companies Act, right? So what has happened is that you have been continuing with the liquidation procedure for the past several years, and still nothing concrete has been concluded, right? So, and even beyond that, you have not made any statement, you have not made any public statement, nothing has been submitted to the court or the registrar, or neither are the normal public informed about anything, right? So what is your fault over there? Okay, I understand there may be complexities, you are extending your liquidation, at least keep them informed as to what is the complexity, how much have you finished, what is the status update. You will have to give it, right? Otherwise it will be very difficult for the people outside the entity to evaluate as to what is going on, to plan their future, right? So now when you go on to write the answer, right, then you'll have to refer to both the sections, and you have to say that yes, the liquidator has to maintain the accounts of the proceedings, right? And this is as per section 462 and as per section 551, right? So long as he is in office and he is undertaking the procedures of winding up, so till that period he will have to present to the court the list or the statement of the receipt and payment that the liquidator has received and made, and this will be done at least twice a year, right? We have seen that already in the lecture, right? And he shall also submit the relevant vouchers and supporting documents to the court if it is required, right? And then what will the court do? The court will ask someone to get these statements audited, right, to check the reliability or to establish a reliability on these statements, right? And this account will be in the prescribed form and will be prepared in duplicate, and one copy will be given to the court and the other to the registrar, right? And these copies will always be open for inspection to the creditors, the contributories, and the company, and also the interested person if there is any. And beyond that, you know that if the liquidation is going on very well, then a printed copy of the audited account will be sent by the liquidator to all the creditors and the contributories, right? And instead of the complete accounts along with their audited statement, they can also send the summary. But that will not be done if the assets are not sufficient to meet the liability, right? We have discussed it already in the class. And if there's a government company, then we'll have to send it to the respective government as well, and you know what respective government means. And then you will also go on to write the provisions of section 551, that he should submit to the court certain information as to why the liquidation is still pending, and this will be done when the winding up proceedings have been extended beyond the period of 1 year, right? And this will be submitted within 2 months, but after being audited, right? And this will not only be given out or submitted in the first year, but this will be done consecutively in every year, right? Year after year, in the in the batch of a complete year. If, for example, they have extended for the period of 1 year, the next 2 months. If the entire next year is also covered, then the next 2 months from the end of the second year. If the entire third year is also covered, then the next 2 months from the end of the third year. So that is how the periodicity will occur, right? And the statement is to be filed with the court, and the copy shall also be given to the registrar. And if we refer to the given question, the liquidator did not file any document, and therefore he is in default. He did not comply with the provisions of section 462 and 511, right? And we did not discuss about the penalties in the class because I was waiting for this question for you to discuss the penalties. So if the default continues, then the liquidator will be liable to the penalty of ₹5,000 per day up to which the default continues, right? And along with this, when 462 is attracted, the liquidator will also be succumbed to the penalties under section 692A, and therefore 5,000 for section 462 and 5,000 additionally for section 629A will be attracted with this liquidator. Hence, it is the total penalty of ₹10,000 per day, right? So that will be the complete answer to this question. So that means this question refers to the last two duties, and that is why we took over the last two duties in this lecture separately. I did not want to wind it up in the previous lecture by just giving you the gist of it, because we had to tackle it in detail. Because if you're getting a question from this portion of your syllabus, then these are the two duties where you would be hit, because others are just a statement, right? You don't have anything concrete over there. If you have something to discuss, if you have something concrete over here, then it is in the last two duties that we have discussed in the lecture today, right? So I hope everything is clear with you. If there is anything that you still have a doubt with, please feel free to comment on the box below, right? And we'll get back to you as soon as possible, right? So please stay tuned for the next lecture, where we'll start with the next discussion, that is about the committee of inspection under the compulsory winding up, right? Although that topic had been taken up in the examination long back, but still we'll give some time to that and then move ahead, right? So please stay tuned for the next lecture. Until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye-bye.